Humana plans to vacate its 27-story headquarters building in downtown Louisville. Those employees will move from the 5th and Main Street building to other offices near Waterfront Park. Humana filed a lawsuit last year against the architects, contractors, and engineers, asking for repayment of the cost to fix problems that were not discovered until 2019. The company says the building is structurally sound and safe for the employees who work there. So it's unclear what will happen to the high-rise building, but let's bring in our in-house Humana expert, WDRB.com business reporter Chris Otts. So Chris, you have been following the company closely for years. How surprising is today's news, and why does it matter?
Well, if you go back 40 years, just look at the downtown YMCA, the new Hometown Heroes banner of Humana co-founder David A. Jones standing in front of this building. He was so proud of it back when they built it at a tremendous cost in the 1980s. It was a statement of Humana's rise and roots in Louisville. And so from that perspective, to think that this day would ever come when the company just says, you know what, we don't need this thing anymore. Don't need the costs, don't really need to have the employees here, we can consolidate them elsewhere. That in itself is kind of just shocking. But in a sense, it's not surprising, because if you look at what's been happening with Humana over the last several years, it has been a story of consolidation in the remote work era. They have gotten out of almost all of the space that they leased downtown, and now they're giving up this gigantic paid-off owned space. And it's all in the name of cost savings. You know, the company is a public company. They're watching the bottom line. They've made promises to investors, and every little bit helps. And
it is iconic to the Louisville skyline to see that building.
Yeah.
We were just talking, and that building is all of Humana, so that's going to be one large empty building.
We've already got 25% or so of the downtown office space that is vacant and on the market, and that doesn't include this building, which is pretty big because it is owned space by Humana. It's not even on the market. And it doesn't include the LG&E building a couple of blocks down the street across from the Yum Center, which of course LG&E is vacating in 2025.
So another empty building here, and Humana has scaled back so much from downtown in recent years. Do you think the company is on its way out of Louisville for good here?
Well, I had a chance to ask them about that today, and they said there's been no decisions about that they're the Waterside and Clock Tower buildings over on the east side of downtown are sufficient to cover their employee needs for the foreseeable future, and they'll continue looking at their real estate footprint. But I'll tell you, Fallon, what the big difference is, there's no one like David A. Jones here in this company anymore. There's nobody. Humana is responsible to the disparate shareholders around the country, led by a board. There are no intrinsic ties to Louisville anymore that are going to ensure that the company remains here. And one thing that I've reported on going back to 2022, many of their executives, their top executives, are now based in Washington, D.C. That may include their CEO in waiting. We don't know yet where he will live, but that's an option, and that in itself is pretty telling.
Big change here in Louisville. And Chris, we know you dive into all the angles in your story right now on our website, WDRB.com.